me, your favorite wannabe Jedi from Michigan, Caitlin. I know it's not Thursday and I've gotten so used to posting videos on Thursday, but like I said, job kind of screwing me up on my vlogging schedule, so I'm going to do the best I can. Also, I'm kind of jumping around. I'm going away. I'm going to be out of town for a couple days. Like I said in my last video, my mom's commencement ceremony is actually this Sunday on the 1st. So we're going down to go do that, and then we're spending the night, and then Monday we're actually going to go to John Ball Zoo. Do not worry, I plan on taking tons of pictures while we're at the zoo and maybe even try to do some video. We were a little worried, the weather, when we planned this, it was going to be nice, and all of a sudden they changed the weather to where it was going to be really cold and then somewhat warm, but really rainy and stormy, and we were all kind of bummed because we all wanted to go to the zoo, and we were like, oh, well, if it's too rainy, we'll just go to this cool museum, because they have a couple of museums down there, one of which we went to when I was 14, 15 years old to go see the Dead Sea Squirrels. Again, when you're a teenager, that is like the most boring trip you can go on when you're going with a bunch of elders and stuff from your church, and your pastor kind of takes pretty much all the fun out of going until he gets on the carousel and he has the most unhappy face I've ever seen. That was awesome. But when you're an adult and you realize that you got to go actually see the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is truly like a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and you got to go see them, it's like, wow. I cannot believe that as a history buff, I didn't appreciate that, seeing those more. I mean, we were planning on, if it was rainy, we were just going to go to that museum. It's not a big one, but we've been there. It's kind of cool. They've got like this whole area just devoted to how a crime is solved from start to finish, including an autopsy room, which, well, it made my friend sick. I was just standing there going, wow. So that's what the inside of a human body looks like. And then I promptly left the room because I was feeling nauseous. But we were going to go there, but now, oh my gosh, thank you, God, and I will keep praying and praying and praying. The weather forecast has changed. It's supposed to be absolutely gorgeous next Monday in Grand Rapids. Sunny, bright, beautiful, almost 70 degrees. Oh, I am so excited because the warmer the weather, the better the chance that they're going to have all the animal exhibits open as well, which does include the one thing I can't stop talking about, the stingray exhibit. Oh my gosh, I am hoping and praying so freaking hard that exhibit is open and that I am able to go and feed a stingray. I just love the fact that I told my dad this, and my dad's like, aren't they dangerous? Aren't they poisonous? And I just go, I don't think so. They shouldn't be. I should be fine, but I am so excited. The weather's going to be great, and I love animals, and I love learning about them and touching them and interacting. Oh, I cannot wait. What would be even better, John Ball is my favorite zoo in Michigan. It would be so cool this year if we got to go to the Big Three, which is John Ball, Potter Park, and Detroit. Of course, everybody knows Detroit because it's like Detroit. But Potter Park is a really awesome place. In fact, that's where I first rode a camel. I decided at a certain point I was too old to ride ponies. So when we went to the Potter Park Zoo one year and saw that they had a camel ride, I went, I want to go on that thing. And I actually rode it. My brother was terrified, but I rode on it and I had a ton of fun. And then the next year my brother joined me. It's very interesting riding a camel. I haven't done it in a few years, but they do camel rides at John Ball, and hopefully maybe I'll get to ride a camel. It'd be really fun. Yeah, I'm just so excited, and because of the way my family is, we don't have a lot of money, because of the work schedules and stuff, we don't actually do a lot of things, like maybe once a year, like in December, November, December, we go down to Frankenmuth for a few hours, and then like during like between April and September, we take a day. If we all manage to get the same day off, we take a day and we go do something. Like last year, we went up north for a few hours, and we go to like zoos or stuff like that. But we really only do that like once a year. So we're kind of hoping that this year we get to do something a couple times. Where my mom's talking about maybe going up to Mackinac Island for a day, which I would love. I would love to go to a zoo. I would love to go to the Michigan Historical Museum, which is one of my favorite places in the entire state, even though I don't like elevators. But, yeah, we're kind of hoping this is just the start of maybe some more funcations that we're going to do. And for us, a funcation is also educational. Like, we just don't go to random places. We always go to somewhere educational, except my dad, because my dad and I do like going to Michigan's Adventures, which is kind of the least educational place in the state. So, This year, actually, I would love to take a road trip to Hell, Michigan. Yes, we have a town in Michigan called Hell, and I've always wanted to go there. Just so I can say, I've been to Hell and back. So, yeah. Anyway, and now talking about my vacation, don't worry, I'm going to put like pictures and videos if I manage to get anything up. But today, at long last, I'm finally going to talk about something that I mentioned a few times. I am finally going to talk about the coolest young adult Star Wars book series ever. Next to Young Jedi Knights, which is another book series which is really interesting, but it's Legends. Young Jedi Knights, in case you don't know, that was a series that was put out that follows the adventures of Jaina and Jacen Solo, Han and Leia's kids. But that is not Legends, so it's still out there. You can still try to get it at libraries and stuff, and it's really interesting. But the book series I am talking about is a book series that basically gave us an inside look about what Jedi training was all about, what it could be like before Attack of the Clones, before the Clone Wars started, and basically kind of what the traditional Jedi training was about, and that is Jedi Apprentice by Jude Watson. This series spanned 20 books, 18 regular books plus 2 special editions. She also, I don't know if she co-authored or if... No, she also wrote 2 other special editions called Legacy of the Jedi and Secrets of the Jedi, which are not part of the Jedi Apprentice series, but do kind of go into it. So, this series is actually really interesting and good. And like I said, it was kind of a glimpse into what training was like. Now, Jedi Apprentice actually focuses on the Master-Apprentice relationship of Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. 2 of the coolest Jedi ever. Like I said, I'm writing fan fiction where I basically rewrote it so that Qui-Gon could live, because I don't think it's fair that he died, because he's awesome and a rebel. Yay! Sorry, I'm trying to keep focused because I'm trying to rush through this. So, like I said, 20 books, 18 regular, 2 overall, and this is not the only series she wrote about a Master Padawan. Between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, no, between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, she wrote a series called Jedi Quest that is about Anakin and Obi-Wan. I read some of those books. Oddly enough, while I love Jedi Apprentice, I didn't really like the Jedi Quest books, and I'm not sure. Again, it's 2 of my favorite characters. I know I loved Anakin Skywalker before he goes all dark and emo-y, and Obi-Wan, like I said, oh my gosh, he's one of the best, he's one of the greatest. But for some odd reason, I just didn't like Jedi Quest. I wonder if it was because if she was trying too hard to really change Anakin's character between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, because in Phantom Menace he's like this totally lovable kid, and in Attack of the Clones, oh my gosh, he's totally an emo, rebellious, not a teenager anymore, but still acting like a teenager. So I kind of get like in Jedi Quest she was trying very hard to suddenly change him from cute, lovable boy into emo, and it just didn't work. But Jedi Apprentice is actually really awesome, so it is really interesting. Now, the series is actually classified as Legends. Like most of the EU books that came out, Jedi Apprentice is no longer considered canon, it's a Legends. Which is kind of surprising, but I wonder if they did it for a couple of reasons, and there's only 2 reasons I can think of, and one is, at the time, has to do with with Dooku. At the time, Attack of the Clones is where we find out really that Dooku was Qui-Gon's master, and it also is said that Dooku's master when he was a Padawan was Yoda, which is really cool because it's this whole thing called the line, and a lot of fans get into this line thing, the line of masters and Padawans, especially when it involves like the big masters. Like there'd be like the line of Yoda is Dooku, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka, and Luke is in there, of course. And then there's the line of Mace Windu, which is Mace, Depa, and Kanan, which I think is more interesting. Which is interesting because you have these two Jedi Masters, both of which were kind of old school. And then you look, especially with Yoda, you look at the apprentices down the line. It's like, wow, for someone who was totally old school, like the apprenticeship, except for Obi-Wan in the line of Yoda, it was like rebel, 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 straight lace, rebel, rebel. It's like, wow, but so it's like the line of Yoda, which is kind of a big deal for a lot of fan fiction writers. For me, it's going to be a big deal, but in Attack of the Clones, Dooku calls Yoda Master, and I assumed that meant Dooku was Yoda's Padawan. However, in the books by Jude Watson, Dooku's master is not Yoda. It's actually a guy, which, ta-da, I have the Jedi Path right here. It's a guy named Thame Cerulean. I can't pronounce his name, last name, Thame Cerulean, and she runs with this idea in, oh my gosh, this is going to be so much fun. I literally grabbed all the books. In the Legacy of the Jedi, that was his master. However, in canon, Dooku's master is Yoda, so I think that's one of the reasons why Legends was taken out of why Jedi Apprentice was taken out of canon, was because at the time I don't think she understood that Dooku was Yoda's Padawan, and she just wrote this guy. And of course, there's also the chance that all these books actually kind of came out before Attack of the Clones, so she might not have known ahead of time that they were going to go that way with Dooku, but it doesn't matter. Another interesting thing is in Jedi Apprentice, Rising Force, when we meet Obi-Wan, he's going through a big crisis because he's only I think it's like 3 or 4 weeks away from turning 13, and one of the first things we learn instantly is he is so desperate to find a master because apparently at the Jedi, when you're initiate, you only have until your 13th birthday to become a Padawan. After that, you're assigned to somewhere else within the Order of the Jedi. Now, this is really interesting that he has such a hard deadline to find a master, because in the Jedi Path, which is also kind of not canon anymore, again, mainly because of the thing with who they say Dooku's master is, and I actually wrote it down in the book. I wrote it down right here. Dooku's master was Yoda, not this Thane, Thane guy. But in this book, which let me find it, right here, it says when it talks about becoming an apprentice, becoming a Padawan, it says when you reach the appropriate age for most humanites between approximately 12 to 14 standard years and have passed the initiate trials, you're eligible to be selected by a Jedi Knight or Master to become an apprentice. So that's kind of weird that in the Jedi Path it says they actually have between 12 and 14 to become Padawans, and in the Rising Force in Jedi Apprentice, it seems like the hard age to become a Padawan, like your absolutely last chance, is when you're before you turn 13. Like when you're 13, that's when you officially become a Padawan if you're chosen by a master or a knight. So it's kind of weird that there's such a discrepancy between these two books. It also raises an interesting question in the Clone Wars movie when Obi-Wan and Anakin meet Ahsoka for the first time. They kind of both have the same reaction that, oh my gosh, a youngling. And then there are a couple times in the movie, like Anakin points out, like he tells Ahsoka, I don't think you're even old enough to be a Padawan. And Yoda says, well, and Ahsoka, not Yoda, Ahsoka says, Yoda thinks I'm old enough. And then later on in the series, Anakin asks her, what are you trying so hard to prove? And Ahsoka goes, I'm trying to prove that I'm not too young to be your Padawan, to which Anakin replies with one of the coolest quotes ever in the Star Wars universe, is that a Jedi Master once told him that nothing is by accident, it is the will of the Force, you are by my side. And I'm like, wow, okay, who the heck said that? I don't remember who, because I don't think I ever heard it before that. But, so it's kind of interesting with that, because according to the story, the background, Ahsoka is 14 when she becomes Anakin's Padawan. That's really interesting with watching the movie and hearing Obi-Wan and even Anakin go like, oh my gosh, she's really young, and she's like too young to be a Padawan, and she's even saying she's too young. But that doesn't really make any sense if in the Jedi Path it says that you have between 12 and 14 to become a Padawan, and she goes and they're like, oh my gosh, you're really young. So why is Ahsoka at 14 considered too young to be Anakin's Padawan, and yet the rules say she has between 12 and 14? Really interesting. John from John Armstrong Media actually did a video where he says he believes that maybe Ahsoka's age in Clone Wars is off. Maybe they say she's 14. But he's wondering if, because of the reactions in the Clone Wars movie, if she's actually younger, if she's more like 12 or 13. And because we all know she's about 16, at one point they age her up to 16. Well, I'm kind of agreeing with John that maybe she's not really 14 when we meet her for the first time. Maybe she's more like 12, almost 13 years old, and maybe that's why she gets the reaction that she does, that she's too young to be a Padawan. She's too young to be on the front lines of these major battles. So I'm starting to agree with him that even though we're told she's 14 years old, maybe we're just being told that, and in reality she's a little bit younger. I'm operating under the assumption that she's 12, about to turn 13, much like how in Phantom Menace Anakin was 9, about to turn 10. So I'm operating on the assumption that Ahsoka is 12, about to turn 13 when she becomes a Padawan, which would fit in more with her age near the end, 16 when she leaves. So and it would still fit in with the timeline of the Clone Wars being 3 years. So it is definitely interesting, the discrepancy in ages between Jedi Apprentice, Jedi Path, and Clone Wars. But that's just me. It's really interesting. I do wish that since they did a series for Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and then they did one for Obi-Wan and Anakin, that they had done a series for Anakin and Ahsoka, because it would have been really interesting to contrast the different styles of the different time periods that the apprenticeship was under, because I just think it would have been cool to contrast them, you know. At Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, they were like during this last period of like peace. I mean, their last mission together to Naboo to stop the Trade Federation was kind of like the catalyst that tipped the galaxy over the edge into the eve of war, and to just getting closer and closer to that violent confrontation. So their apprenticeship their time together in Jedi Apprentice is kind of interesting, because it's kind of like that last period of like the galaxy's pretty much at peace. You know, there are little flare-ups here and there, but most of it is like diplomatic missions, treaty signings and stuff, with a little bit of action and adventure thrown in. But really, overall, just a very peaceful period. And then you have Obi-Wan and Anakin, kind of still in a peaceful period, but again, as the Jedi quest goes on, they're getting closer and closer to the world, galaxy just tumbling off the edge into war. So it slowly goes from being this peaceful time to being more and more a war period. And then you have Anakin and Ahsoka totally during a war. I mean, their apprenticeship covers almost the entire Clone Wars era, so it was definitely during war. So it would be interesting to have a book series about all 3 apprenticeships, and then just compare and contrast the different time periods, and in fact how they had to make adjustments for their teaching style. I mean, it would just be very interesting to see. I am kind of bummed that they never did write a book series for Anakin and Ahsoka, but again, we are getting the Ahsoka novel in October, so I can't be too bummed about that. But anyway, let's do a quick rundown of the books, so that if you guys decide that you want to read them, you know what you're getting into. They're young adult books. They're for like kids in junior high, which is actually, when I started reading them, I was like in 6th, 7th grade when the series started, so I did start reading them at the appropriate age, and I just kept reading them through high school. I actively collected them for a few years, then I stopped, and I ended up getting rid of them, and I was kind of bummed because I had like 8. But, so if you're an adult and you want to read this, be warned, it is meant to be read by junior high, early high school kids, so the writing is kind of younger, but it doesn't take away from it. I do think Jude Watson isn't the greatest writer, but I do think she understood enough of the Star Wars universe that she does bring it alive, and in fact there were a couple books in the series that do make me tear up a little. So it is for kids, but it is a good series. There are like I said, there's 18 novels, and of the 18, there are like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 5 story arcs, which is very interesting because you go and compare it to Jedi Quest. Jedi Quest, there's like an overarching arc, like there was one bad guy for the entire series, and in this one there isn't. It's just that certain books are paired together and flow right into each other, and there really isn't like an unless you count the adventures of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon as the theme. That's where you get the overarching theme. But other than that, quick rundown. Books 1 through 4 which are the first books in the series. They deal with the start of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's relationship. This is Rising Force, like I said. This is the first book, and it's basically Obi-Wan struggling to convince Qui-Gon that he would make a Padawan, that he needs Qui-Gon to be his master, and Yoda is actually playing matchmaker. It's very funny because you definitely get in these books a look at some of the Jedi Masters that you see on screen, and you definitely get to delve a little deeper into their subconscious and their personalities. Like, Yoda can come across like he's very nice on the screen, he can be very mischievous and funny, but it is 10 times so much more clearer that while Yoda can be kind of a strict master, he is the Grand Master after all. He has to lead this order. He's actually a very fun-loving, kind of impish person, and he likes to play matchmaker, apparently. So basically, Rising Force is about Obi-Wan trying to get Qui-Gon to take him as his Padawan and convince him that he's good. And like I said, in this first book, Obi-Wan's also struggling with the fact that he doesn't have a master yet, and he's about to turn 13, which does result in him actually getting sent away because he gets into a fight with his rival named Buck. We are introduced to a lot of characters. One of them is a character called Buck Chun, who for some odd reason does not like Obi-Wan, which I find kind of hard to believe. Obi-Wan is really likable. And then the Rising Force flows right into the second book, Dark Rival, where we are introduced to one of Qui-Gon's former apprentices, Xanatos. Yes, Gargoyles fans, I know. Believe me, I realized that as soon as I remembered the name of this guy. Xanatos was an apprentice of Qui-Gon that Qui-Gon cared really deeply about, who ended up turning dark and has vowed revenge against Qui-Gon for the death of his father. And so in Dark Rival, we meet Xanatos, and Xanatos actually kidnaps Obi-Wan, which forces Qui-Gon to confront how he actually feels about Obi-Wan, that he realizes he actually cares about this boy. And at the end of this, it does turn out good. So we all know Qui-Gon takes Obi-Wan as apprentice. Hidden Past comes right on the heels of Dark Rival. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are on their way to their first official mission as Master and Padawan. In fact, this book opens on Obi-Wan's 13th birthday when he officially becomes a Padawan. And but they actually get hijacked on their way to this planet called Gala by a brother of another character that Obi-Wan knows, and they actually have to go to this other planet where they end up fighting to save the day. And but there's a risk if they get caught, their memories will be erased forever. And then that flows right into Mark of the Crown, which is book number 4. They get to Gala, the planet they need to go to, and they have to help this planet ease from a monarchy into democracy because the Queen is holding elections for the first time. And Obi-Wan has made another enemy by accident because in Hidden Past he actually imitates the Prince of Gala, and it did not turn out good. So Mark of the Crown, and that was one story arc, the first 4 books dealing with the start of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's relationship. And then we get into these 2 books, book number 5, Defenders of the Dead, and book number 6, The Uncertain Path, which add on a layer to Obi-Wan's legend, even if it's not in canon, that at one point, Obi-Wan actually rebels and briefly leaves the Jedi Order. In Defenders of the Dead, they go to this planet where the adults are waging war against the kids, the teens, and Obi-Wan actually feels very strongly and decides he's going to help them and ends up leaving the Order. It's temporary. We all know it's temporary. But we are introduced to another character in this that will play a big part later in the series. Her name is, I think it's pronounced Tal. It's T. I can't remember her. It's T-A-H-L, and she is like Qui-Gon's closest friend. So we meet her and Defenders of the Dead, and then we go into Uncertain Path, where Obi-Wan has brought peace to this planet, but it's not lasting peace, and eventually he starts to struggle with his decision to leave the Jedi Order. At the same time, Qui-Gon is struggling with the fact that he wants to feel betrayed by Obi-Wan because he feels like Obi-Wan has deserted his training, deserted his life, but he just can't find in himself to totally hate Obi-Wan because he cares deeply for him. And it ends up simply being that when Obi-Wan asks for help, Qui-Gon goes to help him, while at the same time, this sets up the next story arc in that something is happening at the temple. Things are being stolen, things are being broken, and it seems like somebody is out to get the Master Yoda and the entire Jedi Temple. Now, in between this book, now, I'll talk about secret. Like, so this is actually the end of Obi-Wan's rebellion and the start of the Jedi of returning to the Xanatos arc, because in Captive Temple, Obi-Wan returns and is put on probation by the Jedi Council, who kind of forbid him from helping Qui-Gon find Xanatos, who it is revealed is behind the attacks of the temple, which include trying to blow up Yoda and nearly destroying a bunch of little younglings in an elevator. And so, while Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are trying to rebuild their relationship, Obi-Wan is on probation, and he's not technically supposed to be helping, and he does. This is also the book where Obi-Wan is kind of forced to deal with some big issues. He gets into a fight with one of his friends, Bant, and he actually witnesses the death of his rival Buck Chun, who was helping Xanatos, but he dies and Obi-Wan's unable to save him, which will lead into a special edition. So that is Captive Temple, which leads into the Day of Reckoning. After Xanatos flees the temple, Qui-Gon, without the blessing of the Jedi Council, decides to go to Telos, Xanatos' homeworld, to confront him for one final battle, and Obi-Wan goes with him, and this is where Obi-Wan is on it. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's relationship is 100% repaired, and it also proves how deeply in this book Qui-Gon really cares for Obi-Wan. There are several times where he actually talks about sending Obi-Wan back to the temple because just how dangerous it is. He doesn't want Obi-Wan to get hurt. So, throughout this series, it is very much clear that Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's bond is not like a typical master-student bond. It's definitely father and son, especially after the Day of Reckoning, which leads into two of the special editions. This is the official special edition, Deceptions, and this was the first one where Jude Watson did this thing where she linked an event that happened during Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's time with an event that happens during Obi-Wan and Anakin. Basically, after Buck's death, his father, brother, and a friend come and basically accuse Obi-Wan of murdering Buck, which is not true, and he has to go on trial. And then years later, Obi-Wan, who has never told Anakin about this period in his life, about what happened to Buck and that he had to go through a trial to see if he was going to be charged with murder, meet up with Buck's younger brother again and are forced to confront, and Obi-Wan has to confront his past and basically decide whether or not he's going to tell Anakin. So this is the first of the special editions. And then to go along with that is Legacy of the Jedi. This is another reason why I think Jedi Apprentice was taken out of canon, is in two of the stories in this book take place during the Clone Wars. And in them, Anakin's still an apprentice, and there's no mention of Ahsoka. So we all know in canon, typically Anakin was knighted like right at the start of Clone Wars. So, but in Legacy of the Jedi, it basically follows Dooku. It starts with Dooku, whose friend finds the Sith holocron, gets in trouble, and gets kicked out, and then Dooku and Qui-Gon, who have to confront Dooku's former friend, but escapes, and then later on, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon confront this former friend, this former Jedi named, I think it's Loran or something, and in that story, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are still coming to terms with what happened, with the change in their relationship, and at one point, Qui-Gon muses that he has a perfect Padawan, but he'd rather have the imperfect boy back. And then, again, Anakin and Obi-Wan have to deal with them. But that was, so it's like 4 generations of Jedi and the secrets of the Jedi. And that's actually the first time we really learn that it's really, see, like, the different styles of teaching, the different levels of closeness the bonds could have, because Dooku was a good teacher, but in Secrets of the Jedi, it's revealed that he didn't really have that close of a relationship with Qui-Gon. He just felt that Qui-Gon was the best student at the temple, and he wanted to have the best, so that's why he picked Qui-Gon. Even though they're two completely different individuals, like, I still know how that relationship worked. Then we have Fight for Truth, which was a standalone, and this is where we really meet the character Siri, and she actually later on becomes kind of a love interest for Obi-Wan. She's taught by another Jedi Master, and in this one, her Jedi Master is Adi Gallia, and they're paired up to go to this planet to bring back a Force-sensitive child. Well, this planet does not want that child to leave, and basically Obi-Wan and Siri are kidnapped and held prisoner at a school. and it's up to their master to try and find them while they try and find a way to break out of the school. And then we have Shattered Peace, which is basically Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan go to this planet that has for centuries exchanged the oldest child between two ruling families so that there's no war, except that this time one of the kids doesn't want to go back. So it's very interesting, and it's also very interesting. It's in the books. They always manage to highlight the different personalities. Obi-Wan's like very unifying force, very like what's going to happen and trying to follow the rules, and then you have Qui-Gon, who's the ultimate maverick, the ultimate great Jedi, and it's like the will of the Force is more important than what the Council and the Code. The Council and the Code are good, they're good to have, but you listen to the Force and you keep your mind in the here and now. So a lot of these books kind of deal with the differences between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon when it comes to fulfilling missions and following the rules. Deadly Hunter is book number 11, and this starts the Jenna Zen Arbor story arc. This is where we meet a scientist. Basically, Qui-Gon's friend is in trouble, and in the process of trying to save this friend, they run across this mad scientist named Jenna Zen Arbor, who she's trying to find a way to recreate the Force so not just the Jedi or other Force sensitives have access to it. She wants to find a way that you can medically, chemically, however, make it so that an ordinary person like me could be able to control the Force, to touch the Force. And this is the first book in this arc, The Deadly Hunter. And then Evil Experiment, book number 12, in which Jenna Zen Arbor succeeds in capturing not just one Jedi, she already has one, but then she succeeds in capturing Qui-Gon. So now Obi-Wan is on his own trying to find his master, which leads us to the return of Siri and Adigalia in the Dangerous Rescue, who come to Obi-Wan's aid to try and save his master. Oh, hey! Red lightsaber. Okay, so obviously you can have a red lightsaber if you're a Jedi. Just kind of weird. So now they have to rescue. This is the last book in the Jenna Zen Arbor arc, and it kind of fully goes into her past more and explains why she was so desperate to try and find a way that she could fake midichlorian so that you could touch the Force. And then this leads into another story arc involving Qui-Gon and Tal's relationship in the book The Ties That Bind. In Defenders of the Dead, Tal is blinded and is basically at the temple. She ends up taking Obi-Wan's friend Bant as a Padawan, but she keeps leaving Bant behind. But in The Ties That Bind, Tal is called back to a planet called New Absalon, and because she and Qui-Gon help bring peace, now the planet's at war again, they need her back. But she's actually been, now they have to return Qui-Gon and Tal to this planet, but the Jedi Council doesn't want them to go, but Qui-Gon goes, and of course, he takes Obi-Wan, because, why not? I mean, I definitely feel like Qui-Gon was a great guy, but sometimes I wonder if he was trying very hard to corrupt the next generation. So in Ties That Bind, we see Qui-Gon, Tal, and Obi-Wan returning to a planet from Tal's past, Tal and Qui-Gon's past, where Tal actually had a very close relationship with the children of the leaders, which then lead us into this book, ominously titled The Death of Hope. And basically, Tal and Qui-Gon have pledged to love each other because, hey, they're in love, and being a rebellious Jedi, why not just go ahead and pledge yourselves to each other? And tragically, Tal is abducted, and Qui-Gon is like struggling to find her, and they have to find her because she's too late, before it's too late, because she's actually being tortured in this thing called a sensory deprivation suit. Ooh, not good. And she's already kind of weak and fragile to begin with, so it's a race against time for Qui-Gon to save his one true love, which, once I tell you the title of the next book, you know does not turn out well, because the title of book number 16 is The Call to Vengeance. Yeah, unfortunately, Tal dies, and Qui-Gon actually goes pretty dark, almost dark-sidey, and he is just wants to get revenge on his, the killer, and he's so upset that they actually call in Mace Windu and Bant to come and help, and Obi-Wan has to try and step in and keep his master from going 100% totally dark side, and this is actually a very raw book, because it's really the first time, it's like the only time in the entire series that Qui-Gon actually does give in to the darker emotions inside of him. But it all turns out well, just so you know. But this is actually the last story arc in the entire series. The Death of Tal is actually the last arc, because the last 2 books are standalone. And again, before we go on to the remaining books, we have to stop and look at Secrets of the Jedi, which was another book. Unlike Legacy of the Jedi, it did not span 4 generations. It was literally just Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Obi-Wan and Anakin. And it takes place after Tal's death, after they return from New Absalom, and Qui-Gon is still struggling with her death, still trying to come to terms with it. And Obi-Wan is doing the best he can to help his master. He's trying to take care of him, to be there for him. And they're giving a mission to foil assassination, and as part of that mission, they come into contact with Siri Tachi again, who she and Obi-Wan do form a kind of romantic relationship. And I know a lot of you are going, oh my god, what about Satine? I know, a lot of fan fiction, they actually have them saying that falling in love with both Siri and Satine, and that Satine was like his true love, the person he was closest to, and Siri was like somebody he could share, who understood what his life was like. But in the Secrets of the Jedi, at the end, Obi-Wan and Siri actually decide, because they're kind of like 17, 18 years old, they're just going to devote themselves to the Jedi. And then years later, they meet up, and it doesn't go so well for Siri. And and Anakin is there to witness this, and he does see how much Obi-Wan cares for her. But when Obi-Wan refuses to go after Siri's killer and kill him, he doubts whether or not Obi-Wan truly cared for her, like he cares for Padme. So, very interesting, these 2 books. Again, not canon anymore, but very interesting. And then the last 2 regular books is number 17, The Only Witness. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan have to protect this witness to a crime, but is she actually telling you the truth? Is she really who she says she is? Is her allegiance true? And it's up to them to find out. And then the last regular book is called The Threat Within, where Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan go on a mission and once again find themselves on opposing sides in a battle that will determine whether or not their relationship can survive. And Obi-Wan is 18. This is the final book in the regular series, and he's 18 years old. So from Rising Force to The Threat Within, we literally see Obi-Wan Kenobi go from a 12-year-old to an 18-year-old just years before Phantom Menace. So basically the entire series is Obi-Wan's teenage childhood, so it's interesting. And then book number 20, which is the second of the special editions, and was actually the last Jedi Apprentice book to be released, is The Followers. This is, again, Obi-Wan is 18, so he's really on that cusp of manhood. He and Qui-Gon are charged with looking into this group called The Followers, who are Sith devotees. They are very much into the way of the Sith. They want to practice it, they follow it, they think the Sith are awesome. And so it's up, and they're trying to find the Sith Holocron, so Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan have to go and try to stop this, and then years later, it's Obi-Wan and Anakin who must deal with the remnants of the followers of the Sith devotion group and figure out a way to stop them. So, it's actually a very good series. Again, as an adult, it can be kind of hard to read it at times because it is such a, it is meant for younger kids, but it's, at the same time, I adore it. I think it's awesome because it gives you such an inside glance, even though it's not canon anymore, even though it's Legends, about what Jedi training could be like, what life at the temple was like. I mean, a lot of my friends say they want to be Sith because of the whole thing that there is no emotion, there is peace. Well, you read Jedi Apprentice and it's actually kind of very clear that, okay, the whole no emotion, there's peacing, that is about acting out of your emotions. Kanan, Ezra even says it. Kanan teaches him that as a Jedi, you don't act out of your emotions. That doesn't mean you don't have to turn off your emotions. You can experience them. Just don't act out of them, especially like the darker ones, you know. You can laugh, you can cry, you can get mad, but don't act out of it. When you do act, make sure it's peaceful, that you're doing it for the right reasons. The attachment thing thing that still kind of bothers me, because as I've said before, the whole Master Padawan bond, to me that's just one encouraged attachment. Even the one episode of Clone Wars in the first season, Ayla Secura even brings up to Ahsoka that she's so attached to Anakin, and then goes and points out, well, with her own master, she viewed her own master as a father figure, but so it's nothing. So your attachment to your master, it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just that when the time comes, just be prepared to let them go. So I don't really get the no attachment thing. I think it's kind of important. Our attachments are what make us, and if we have someone we want to fight for to make the world a better place, then we're not just fighting to make the world, the lives, a better place for them. We're also going to make it a better place for everybody as a whole. Just be careful to make sure you're acting for the right reason. Also, at long last, Jedi Apprentice does solve the issue I have, because I got so tired of hearing the certain point of view thing. It's why Obi-Wan doesn't tell Luke who his father is, why Yoda doesn't, and it's kind of explained in Dark Rival why. Because Obi-Wan is struggling not to question Qui-Gon about who Xanatos is, and the exact quote is, Obi-Wan wanted to blurt out the question, but one of the Jedi's most serious rules was not to cross-examine a master. Truth can hold great power, therefore the decision to share it must be weighed. Only the master could decide on revelation or concealment according to the greater good. So that is where the certain point of view thing comes in, is that a Jedi Master can decide whether or not the truth can be told depending on how it will affect the outcome of the greater good. So still bothers me, but now I kind of understand it. So yeah, that was my basically review. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's over 40 minutes. My review of Jedi Apprentice. If you're still watching this, thanks for sticking with me. Like I said, I will be gone. I'm not sure if I'm going to put up a video next week. I promise I will try to. I'm still debating about what I'm going to do between now and Star Wars Celebration. I'm still leaning towards doing Gargoyles recaps, taking a little break from Star Wars. I'm thinking about doing Clone Wars. I'm not sure. Thank you to the girl who commented on my last video. It meant so much to me. Again, in my last video, I put a link to my one fan fiction, Your Time Has Not Yet Come. I started posting the sequel to that, which is the start of the Annalise series, Annalise of Earth, where you meet my original character, Annalise, who is going to meet Anakin Skywalker's twin. So, go check that out. I would love to get some more reviews, some more reads, and that is another show. So, thanks for sticking with me. I can't believe this video is over 40 minutes long. I am so sorry. I think I rambled a ton, but I got done in one take. So, thanks for watching. For all your football fans, tonight's the second night of the draft. Go Lions! I am so happy with who they picked out. I'm hoping Connor Cook goes in tonight's second round, but I'm hoping he gets picked up by the Lions, because that would be awesome. Also, my Tigers did amazingly well. We took the series and we're playing again tonight, so go Tigers! But yeah, I'm your favorite wannabe Jedi from Michigan, Caitlin. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me through this incredibly long video. I will try to get posted as soon as possible. Go check out Jedi Apprentice. If you're unable to find them, don't worry. Jedi Quests can still be found in a lot of libraries. And also, if you want a little more challenging read that's a little bit older, like I said, go check out Young Jedi Knights, the stories of Jason and Jaina Solo. So, thanks for watching. Have a great day. I should be back next week. And until then, may the Force be with you.